we're back, and we are at an ORMUS group in Key Largo. This is the Key Largo ORMUS group. Can we say hello to the folks in the world?
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
We love you, and we have just finished an ORMUS group program, and you can read more about ORMUS group programs, ORMUS groups at the website ormusgroups.com. You can also be a local ORMUS group facilitator yourself. Spread the word, the good thing about ORMUS. So what we're doing now, because the ORMUS group program just finished, we just took a break, is I want to come back and I want to show you how to collect ORMUS for yourself. Because in the program, if we just talk about how good it is and you should be on this and taking it as a supplement, all I've done is created another consumer. And I really haven't done the most for you that I can. So I want to take this time to show you how to do the most common ORMUS collection that you can do for the rest of your life. Okay? It is called a wet process. And we call that because the process is done on a source material that is wet. We do it on seawater because seawater contains a whole plethora of mineral elements in a dissolved type of a state, but they're all there. So after we're done doing the wet process, we're going to have taken the seawater, either seawater that came from the sea, or we're going to use, you can use in the process, natural sea salt that you dissolve with distilled water to make reconstituted sea. And from that, we're going to do the process, and you actually are doing the wet process. It will take about 15 minutes. Now, as far as setting up for it, you might have to add a little more time for that. But we're not talking about a process that's going to take a whole bunch of your life energy. And then once you've done the process, you will easily have enough ORMUS for yourself to last a year. So let me show you the finished product from a wet process. It is a liquid, and in the liquid will be a precipitate. If you can see, the precipitate goes to about there. We call it a wet in wet because the precipitate is wet and the liquid is wet. So if you were to squish the precipitate, it's going to be squishy. An alchemist would call that a wet in wet. A dry in wet would be something like sand put in water. That is a dry material in a wet liquid. So that is important to see and to understand, because by being a wet in wet, when I take this internally, these is bioavailable because it's already wet. It's already ready for the gut to break it apart, take it through the system. What is it I'm taking through the system is all of the minerals and all of the elements that were in the seawater. Now we know seawater is good for us because it contains everything, or just about everything, that's in our own blood. So we are comprised of those same elements, and by supplementing with ORMUS, we're giving our body more of the trace elements. I'm not talking about the major minerals. We hear about that so much: calcium, magnesium, potassium. I'm talking about the plethora of trace minerals that are out there that our body needs to run, because every gland requires mineral or minerals, trace mineral or minerals. Every action in our body, from the immunity, the white blood cells, enzymatic activity, to the reproductive activity, digestive activity, our brain activity, requires trace minerals. And unless you just haven't been reading or watching TV for a long time, you know that we're undernourished on our trace minerals. You know that our foods don't have them in them the way that they did, if at all, from over farming of the soil, glyphosate being used on the plants. And if we don't get them from our plants that we eat, and the meat that we eat that ate the plants, we're undernourished. So when people say that they have such this terrific response when they take ORMUS, they've remineralized their body. That's at the very, very, very core of understanding about ORMUS, is you are taking minerals that are bioavailable, ready to use, and which your body needs because we are undernourished in them. For that reason alone, you want to take ORMUS. So we're going to collect it for ourselves. We're going to do that just because it saves us a heck of a lot of money. This is a 4-ounce bottle, and you can expect on the internet to pay $50 for an 8-ounce bottle for 2 of these, plus shipping. When you make the ORMUS or collect it yourself, it's pennies. And the volume that you collect is so much that you're going to have enough for a year easily. And then you'll be giving the ORMUS to yourself, your plants, your animals, and you'll be benefiting your whole entire world. So for that reason, I've shown you why ORMUS is important in your world, but I don't want to leave you just as a consumer. I want you to have the skills to collect it for yourself. And I'm going to show you the most common collection method that is used out there, and it's called the wet process. Now, the wet process can be learned on the internet. You can look around and do Google search. I know that one thing about the internet is you have to feel comfortable of where you're getting the information. And so I did write this book for you, for the world, for posterity. It contains 13 ORMUS collection processes in the book. It is a great book to have. It also tells you many, many, many ancillary informations about ORMUS. And so I would be remiss to start on a collection without letting you know that there's a way for you to own the knowledge forever on your library shelf. It's called ORMUS, Modern Day Alchemy. It does have its own website called ormusbooks.com, and it is also sold at Amazon. Now that you know that that is there, when you are doing an ORMUS wet process collection, there are some supplies that you need. Not many, but there are some, and they have a tendency to dissuade people from doing the due diligence to get these items to start the process. It's just human nature. This is a fact. And so for that reason, I created a kit for you. Chris Emmons, the author of the ORMUS Modern Day Alchemy book, created a kit for you to get you started on your own collections. When you use the supplies that are in this kit, you're easily going to be able to create at least 32 ounces of ORMUS, possibly more, with easily a $500 value, not including the shipping that you normally would have to charge if you bought it online. And I have seen ORMUS go for 20% higher on the internet than the lowball figure that I was giving you that you could buy ORMUS for on the internet. So when you get this kit, there's going to be a few items in it. And I have asked the ORMUS group participants to help so that we can make this clear for you and have it run smoothly. So would somebody from the ORMUS group please let me know what is in the Discovery Do-It-Yourself ORMUS kit that is available at faceics.com, by the way, FACEICS.com. I hate for you to want it and not know where to get it. What's in it?
Well, it comes with Great Salt Lake Concentrated.
Okay, the Great Salt Lake in Utah is a very, very, very good source material. And so you get 4 ounces of your source material ready to dilute and then do the process on.
The next item is a pH meter.
The kit gives you a pH meter so that you can know when the process is done. The pH meter is right here. It's very, very easy to use. It's got an on and off switch at the top. The pH meter also includes a packet for you to be sure that the pH meter is calibrated properly. And the pH meter gives you a screw so that you can help with the calculations by putting the screw in the set screw and turning it to make sure that what goes on the display is truly what the solution is for pH. What else is in the kit?
The next item is NaOH, which is sodium hydroxide, food grade lye.
Okay, you get 4 ounces of the sodium hydroxide. Now, the sodium hydroxide, we need this in the process because you've got your salty solution and we need to get the minerals out of it. How we do that in a nutshell is we change the pH of the Great Salt Lake. The Great Salt Lake is about pH 8.5. And we want to get the pH up to pH 10, 10.5, 10.78 is the highest that we want to go. How do we do that? Is we add a material such as sodium hydroxide, which has a very high pH. This would be pH 13. So if I add a pH 13 to a pH 8.5, you can understand I'm going to bring the pH up. And we'll keep adding it until we get to the 10, pH 10.5 with no higher than 10.78. Lye is not toxic. Let's get this clear. If I eat a whole bunch of arsenic, I will die, and it is toxic. Because arsenic chemical is toxic. Sodium hydroxide as a chemical ingredients within it, which is sodium, and sodium is what's in salt that we put on our food, an oxygen molecule and a hydrogen molecule. We breathe these things in all the time. So there's nothing in here that is toxic, the same way as taking an overdose of belladonna for the heart. Well, it's toxic. It is high pH. Now, if something is really high pH, you don't want to put it on your skin. You don't want to put it in your mouth because it's going to dissolve the fats. It's a digesting pH. So I hope that you understand, because this is so clear. People go, oh my God, you're using sodium hydroxide. It is not toxic. It is high pH. So for that reason, when I work with it, I'll wear gloves and I'll wear eye protecting. And if I do get a splash on me because of poor technique, I'm going to douse it with a lot of water. I'm not going to turn into that witch in the Wizard of Oz and go smoking into the oblivion. Okay, I'm going to go, oh, you know what, that kind of hurts. Because it's slowly digesting my oil and getting into the skin. Oh, I think I'll put a lot of water on this. Okay? So I don't want to minimize this safety, but I don't want to scare you away with it. I want you to be happy that we have something like sodium hydroxide. This is used in chemical reactions all the time. Totally legal chemical reactions that are done in scientific laboratories all over the place. It is also used in making the street drugs because you have to change the pH. And this is a non-toxic way to change the pH because you're only adding sodium, oxygen, and hydrogen. For that reason, that's why the government has come down on sodium hydroxide and made it hard for you to get. It's the meth and the kitchen drugs, okay? So I hope that you make it very clear that don't worry, work your safety issues, understand what you're working with, and move on. The last item that is in the discovery kit is the directions, complete directions on what to do. So now that we know what's in our kit, you can get it at basics.com. Let's talk about the things that you need from the house. This is the stopping point for most people. They go, I do not know where to get a pH meter. I do not know which one to buy. I certainly don't know where to get sodium hydroxide, which, by the way, if you want to get sodium hydroxide for yourself, one of the simplest, easiest places to go is at a homemade soap making site, because in order to make soap, you absolutely need sodium hydroxide. The Great Salt Lake can be purchased also. It's a little more difficult to find, but it is out there. And of course, the directions could be in the book. You can trust what you read in that book. Could be on the internet. Be sure that who's teaching you has got credentialing of something that you're comfortable with. Or you can get the kit. Now let's talk about the things that you need from around the house. These will be the household items, and if a member of the ORMUS group could help reading from the directions in the discovery kit, what is needed around the house. This comes directly from the directions in the discovery kit.
Okay, no problem. I'll take that on as well.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, so the items that you need. The first item that you need is a well-ventilated area outside in the open air. Which we are outside in the open air as I speak right now.
Yes.
Then we need 3 regular clear glass containers, 1 approximately 1 gallon, and 2 that are a little over 8 ounces.
Okay, I've got the gallon.
The 3 glass containers. The next thing we need is a catch basin, which is about the size of a plastic cat litter box.
This would be our catch basin right here.
And then you need 1 gallon container of distilled water.
Here you go.
Okay. Next, it says we need a 1 cup, 8 ounce measuring cup, which I think we have there.
Got these.
And then 1 tablespoon measuring spoon.
Okay, these need to be plastic. Okay, no metal.
What's this one?
Does it say there?
It says, well, I think that says it more in the 1 teaspoon, which is the next part of it. So 1 teaspoon measuring spoon as well. And then it says a tool to add liquid such as a turkey baster, eyedropper, or oral syringe.
We have more too. If you pull out the oral syringes that are in the baggie, eyedroppers, eyedropper, anything that you can use to measure or put some liquid into some other liquid. Okay.
And then the next item it says is a plastic cooking spoon or spatula.
Again, no metal. Does
No
it
metal.
say no metal? We'll be adding that to it, no metal. Although somewhere earlier it might say that, but thank you.
And then paper towels. And then it says required safety equipment. It asks for plastic gloves.
We always err on the side of safety.
Mm-hmm.
If you get any of the sodium hydroxide solution on you, you will wash it off immediately. You're not going to let it sit on there and slowly digest the oil. And it'll just pick at you. So I will be using the gloves. A lot of people, once you've done the process a couple times, they don't do this. It's a bit of an overkill. If you have very poor lab technique, the gloves are handy. But most folks don't. They keep the sodium hydroxide where it's supposed to be going.
It also suggests eye protection like glasses or goggles.
It's the same concept. If I were to accidentally splash sodium hydroxide into my eyeball, the flesh there is much more delicate. And of course, you would flush your eyes out, and you might even go to the hospital. Because of the nature of the tender flesh in the eyeball, even though I don't anticipate that I'm going to make a big snafu, I will wear eyeglasses, just to be sure.
And then it also suggests to have an apron or some type of protective clothing.
You know, I kind of like this top, and again, if my technique isn't so good, and some sodium hydroxide solution gets on it, it will digest the material. And then I will have another clean the house top. So it just would make sense for you to wear something that you don't mind if you have poor laboratory technique. That I would put a hole in this instead. Thank you.
Another resourceful thing to have is nearby source of fresh water for irrigation in the event of an accidental spillage or splash.
Very, very important, because if there is an accidental spillage or splash, I need fresh water like a hose to wash it off.
It also says a storage bottle of clear glass or HDPE plastic. Just in case the explanation, HDPE has a triangle on the bottom with a number 2 in the middle on it. No metal tops.
We're talking here of your storage. You see, this is in a plastic container with a plastic top. You could choose a glass container as long as it has a plastic top. So we're talking about after we've done our collection, where are we going to store it?
And then the final item on here is aluminum foil or a metal canister, the type that a magnet sticks to.
So it's pretty standard that once you have done your collection, you take your aluminum foil and you wrap up the bottle in the aluminum foil. And that's because the ORMUS does not like being around electromagnetic fields. And so it stresses the ORMUS, and it might not make it as potent for you. Electromagnetic fields are everywhere. They're in your refrigerator. They're coming from anything that has a motor, your radios, anything that you plug in, even the wall units themselves. So we would say if I'm going to store this without this, because I'm using it, try to get 6 feet away from an electromagnetic field creating thing. And then when you want to store it, you want to either wrap it up in aluminum foil or put it into a canister. But you want a canister that definitely has some iron in it. And how you know that is because a magnet will stick to it. If a magnet sticks to it, you have a good canister to store your bottle of ORMUS. Okay. Is there more?
The last section here, right before it actually gets into the process itself, it says, read thoroughly before beginning the wet process. These notes on how to collect a precipitate that contains ORMUS using Great Salt Lake Concentrated are from the book ORMUS Modern Day Alchemy by Chris Emmons.
Okay. In there, did it talk about vinegar? I want to include that you would want to have a bottle of vinegar available because vinegar is an acid. Okay, and so if I get a splash of sodium hydroxide on my skin, not my eye in this case,
Right.
I could splash it with some vinegar and neutralize the sodium hydroxide. If I were to accidentally spill my sodium hydroxide liquid, I would be able to throw vinegar on it to neutralize it, because it's a high pH and vinegar's 2. To bring it down, and then sop it up with a towel or whatnot. So vinegar is a very, very nice thing to have.
Okay.
Or in a spritz is really, really nice because you get a bigger coverage. Okay. Now, does that take it for the things that we would need from around the house?
Yes.
So pretty soon I'm going to stop this particular video because we have spent our time together so that you can see all the things that you need. There's nothing tremendously problematic for you to pull from around the house. What we do, the ORMUS collectors such as myself, because we all are busy in this day and age. So what we do is we don't say, today I'm going to collect ORMUS and I'm going to run around the house and I'm going to be grabbing all this stuff and then I'm going to be doing all this and like this is what my day's about. Just got too much on our plate. So the beauty of this is you saw how I put it all in a tote. So you get your directions out from the do-it-yourself discovery kit or the book or the websites that you trust, and you just say, okay, these are the things that I need, and you slowly pull them together and put them in a corner, out of sight, out of mind. And then once you got these all together, you know you got your kit or you got your supplies that you need to buy, you say, okay, I'm ready to do a process. From this point on of getting the stuff from around the kitchen and having your core needs in order to be able to do a wet process, you're going to spend no more than half an hour of focused effort. Okay? So I hope that I have, in this time together, shown you the possibility that you will be able to collect ORMUS for yourself. You'll understand why you want to have it in your life, and you'll see clearly that it is something that is doable in terms of getting the supplies that you need to do the work. In the next section, after I've given you time to catch your breath, and us too, okay, bring our mind back, we will then start with the directions that are in the Do-It-Yourself Discovery ORMUS Collection Kit, and we will follow the directions as they say, line by line, as we work towards collecting the ORMUS that I showed you the bottle of at the end. Okay, are you in agreement? Are you in agreement? Okay, we'll see you on the turnaround.